Megha, thank you so much for joining us here today.
Pleasure is all mine, Mansi. Really looking forward to this conversation.
So, Megha, I would like to start this conversation, kick off this conversation by asking you this. What, according to you, sets Meesho apart from other competitors in the market?
Then it's going to be a big monologue, but I'm going to try and make it short.
Hmm.
I think it's one of the biggest strength of Meesho is knowing users. I believe that's a very, very big strength area. What do I mean by that? Let me probably take a step back and talk about what Meesho is and its mission is, because that will really flow into what our strengths is and what sets us apart. So now Meesho is one of the largest e-commerce players in India. If you look at true marketplace, then we are the largest. Um, See, e-commerce is not a new phenomenon in India. It's been there for almost 15 years. However, Meesho rose very fast as we started in 2015. And one of the big reasons was because we understood how India consumes. So if you look at India, almost 85% of people consume unorganized, unbranded supply. And that was the first focus with which Meesho started. We relentlessly got this supply online. Also, we created a business model which is very asset light. This ensured that the price point was the most cost effective possible because there is no overheads left anymore. So that's what Meesho did. We unlocked the supply that India truly consumed at a price point which was extremely competitive. And the outcome of that was a true category creation or an expansion happened. Because of this, we were able to go really, really deep into India. We not only converted a lot of, took away share from existing market, but also went deep into tier 2 to 4 rural markets as well. So knowing the user, knowing that this is the kind of assortment, this is the kind of price point users want, and enabling our entire ecosystem around it is, I believe, is what Meesho is what sets us apart from any other competitor out there.
Wonderful, beautifully put, Megha. Now, how could you say you different? How do you differentiate your brand and capture the attention of your target audience?
Sure, I think. See, it's a very interesting question that you asked, Mansi. If you look at even as we as consumers, the amount of distraction that exists in times like these is insane. Yeah. You talk about any medium and you will be bombarded by messages, by ads, so many things happening. Yeah.
Yes.
So, and honestly, no one wakes up in the morning thinking that, oh, I'm going to look at that ad and going to do this. Our brains are trained for survival, which means that they want to reduce the cognitive load as much as possible. They don't want cognitive load. Our brains don't want that. Yeah. So when does something is able to capture your attention is only when one thing is sought, which is relevancy. So if you're relevant to me, then I give you my attention, and that's when you pick my curiosity. So everything we do, every single thing, we ensure that we make it relevant. Now, how do you make it relevant? By personalization. I know it's a buzzword sometimes, but it's really true, Mansi, because like Mansi and Megha cannot be same, right? Every two people will be different. And if you think about India, we all know that India is one of the most heterogeneous countries out there. And especially as you keep going deeper and deeper into India, the heterogeneity just keeps increasing. A tier 4 of an Uttar Pradesh is going to be very different from a tier 4 of a Tamil Nadu, is going to be very different from a tier 4 of Maharashtra. Yeah.
Yes.
So personalization becomes very important. Let me take a few examples of where personalization comes. Yeah. So let's look at acquisition. So we run performance marketing. In performance marketing, we are very heavy on meta and we use dynamic product ads. Dynamic product ads is nothing but you see a carousel on your feed and you can swipe the kind of products that you're seeing on Facebook, on Instagram. Now, the products that you will see versus the products that I will see or any other person will see will be completely different. It will be dependent on that person's interest, and therefore both Meta's and Meesho's data is used to personalize that.
Right.
When they land on the app, we have millions of products, right? We have 80 million products. What sort of products should I show you so that I'm able to capture your attention? Like, no one is going to scroll through millions of products, right? They'll probably scroll through 15, 20 products
Yeah.
before they make up their mind, should I stay here or not stay here? So
Yeah.
those 15, 20 products, which ones should I choose? Has to be supremely personalized.
Absolutely.
I can go on, but these are some of the examples
Yeah.
where we use personalization in a very big way.
Yeah, wonderful. I'm glad that you actually spoke about personalization, because here is also where data analytics come into play, right? So could you elaborate on the role of data analytics in Meesho's marketing strategies, and how does the brand actually collect and analyze this data to make informed decisions and, of course, optimize its campaigns?
Yeah, sure. So I've always believed that something that you don't measure, you can't optimize either, right?
Yes.
Obviously, if you don't know what's going on, how will you grow or optimize it? So step one is measurement.
Hmm.
And for every growth person, this is the most important thing, that you measure each and everything that you do. We have in-house tools that we use, which helps us in understanding once the user has landed on their app and they're signed up, we understand their journey fully. We understand what are the products that they're clicking with, what kind of quality that they want, what kind of ratings, what kind of price points, what kind of categories. And all of this data helps us in making better decisions. And
Hmm.
by the way, these decisions are completely backed by machine models, right? I mean,
Yeah.
it's practically impossible to run all these variables in an analytical model and say, okay, fine, we can do this. So these are all ML based models that actually recommend the kind of products that they should be using. That's number one. Number two, we are a very, very data backed company. Every decision has to have like a very strong understanding of data. And therefore, at any point of time, we would be running easily 30, 40 A/B experiments to understand what works, what doesn't work. That truly helps us in taking much better calls for our user base.
Right, right. Thank you so much for telling us about this. But at the beginning of this conversation, you mentioned about how disruptive the digital landscape is, and it's ever evolving, right? So, how does Meesho leverage new technologies, like you just mentioned, that it cannot happen without machines, right? It cannot happen without ML. How does Meesho leverage new technologies and innovation in its marketing strategies to, of course, stay ahead of the curve?
Sure. So this is going to be I feel that this question's answer lies more in culture. So you can probe me more if I go too vague, but I genuinely feel that it's more culture driven than anything else. So think 10x, think long term is one of the big mantras of Meesho. What that means is that every planning cycle we take large goals. So for example, if we have X million users, team will take that we will make it 1.5x in this 1 year itself. Now these are big goals at the kind of size we are operating at. Yeah, which means that they have to go have to go in a lot of depth and figure out that what are these big levers which will truly move the needle. Now, in order to get to these big levers, there are three large areas that we tap into. Number one is understanding the users.
Hmm.
Now, again, I started with this, but this is actually the core of it, Mansi. If you don't understand who your user is, what they're doing, what they want, there is no growth team. Let me take an example. I remember almost 4 years back, we started hearing from our users that all of them had started adopting YouTube in a big way
Hmm.
4 years back, and influencers and halls had started to come in their vocab. This is 4 years back. And we realized this can be a very, very big phenomenon. And we were one of the largest players who went really big at it. There was a time when you open YouTube, just write hall, and it was only Meesho, flooded with Meesho halls. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what I'm trying to say is, and these insights are not like because we were sitting in a room or got an insight. It was because a user told us that that is what they're doing.
Hmm.
So that's number one. Second is this data that we just spoke about, the analytics part of it, the A/B experiments. As I said, at any point of time, user growth team would be running at least 30, 40 experiments just to see what is working, what is not working. And third is understanding this outside in landscape. understanding what are the new things that are happening and what are the things that could change us, disrupt us, and therefore what are the new ways of working. For example, generative AI. Again, I genuinely feel that generative AI's scope is what internet did to us. Internet was a revolution, or printing press was a revolution, right? It just disseminated information to the next level. That's the kind of revolution we are talking about at this point of time. And none of us understand Gen AI at this point in time.
Yeah.
What we understand is tip of the iceberg, which is to say, I'm doing X. Can I do X better? Sure. So most examples that you would see at this point of time is, how do I do X better? But the true revolution happens when you start imagining new flows, new ways of doing things. And that's what is going to happen. We all know it. Yeah. So now, for example, all of our teams, we've created pods which are dedicatedly focused and figuring out that what are some of the new things that we can actually do in Gen AI. So that's how, at least curiosity and culture is how I would say, is how we stay ahead of the curve.
That's a very, very fresh perspective that you have given us. Culture and curiosity. Wonderful. That's going to be my takeaway from this answer of yours. Megha, you mentioned how on YouTube, when like 4 years ago, we could only find Meesho's videos of hauls, right? And I can still see that on YouTube. Like I was going through it the other day and I could still see it. But one other tool that has come to the forefront is Instagram Reels. That's such a powerful tool for capturing attention or engaging with your audiences. So how is Meesho leveraging the power of Reels to enhance its marketing efforts and connect with its target audience?
Absolutely amazing question, Mansi, because you're bang on. If you look at the kind of growth Reels has had in India, it's phenomenal. It's phenomenal. People are spending inordinate amount of time on Reels. And there's a very interesting thing, or that was one of our hypotheses, and I'll go deep here, is we all know it's a content first. Yeah. So the usual ads, honestly, don't work.
Absolutely.
Your switching cost is very, very low. All you need is a swipe. So you start, if it's a brand speak, done. You're out. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that is what we've realized about Reels, that Reels is extremely important because that's where users are. And the only way to crack Reels is to be extremely entertainment and content first, with very subtle, very nuanced integration of the brand. And that's what, by the way, we did recently, and we got huge success. So earlier this year, we wanted to cement our position as more a horizontal e-commerce player. And no better medium than social and Reels, right? Because that's where users are spending time. We collaborated with Meta. Made for Reels was one of the projects that we worked on. Worked with a lot of mid to mega, actually more mid to micro than mega influencers. And created a lot of interesting content that was varying from just pure dance sequence to comedy to emotional stuff, right? Like almost like a spectrum of emotions we actually invested in. And everywhere, Meesho was integrated in a very subtle way. It was not obvious. And the outcome was phenomenal, Mansi. We saw that our CPMs were almost 2 to 3x lower than any benchmarks. Our reach was some 80% higher. Our spawned awareness for the metric that we wanted to move, which was a horizontal thing, moved by multiple points. So we realized the power, and we realized that the biggest hypothesis was that entertainment is the king and a subtle integration of the brand stays true. So that was the hypothesis with which we went in, and that's the thing that we double clicked on, and that's what we're going to keep doubling down on. So yeah.
Yeah, like you said, that Instagram right now, Reels are the thing, right? And it's like what Facebook said years ago, thumb stoppers.
Correct.
Either find it interesting and you stop scrolling, or you just swipe up and you're on to the next brand. And I think that's where all the competition lies, and that's where a brand can differentiate itself in how it engages with its audiences.
Absolutely. And if you think about it, right, like if I have further built on, we all know that brand is truly made when it enters the long-term memory structure of users, right? Classic Byron Sharp one-on-one. Now, social actually gives you an incredible opportunity to do that because that's the only place where there's a two-way conversation going on.
Yes,
It's
yes.
not one way. TV, all of those things, while important, I'm not underscoring the importance or reducing the importance of those channels. It's very, very important. However, social, because it's two-way, like you and I can talk to each other, brand and the user can talk to each other. That's when really the person feels very engaged, connected with the brand, and that's when it starts entering their long-term memory structure. So I feel cracking social, making social as a heart of your strategy has become increasingly important now.
Absolutely. And now we see even now we see brands that have been more traditional brands, if I may say so. Traditional brands are also adopting this strategy,
Yeah.
getting onto the Reels bandwagon, as they say. Because,
Correct,
because I
correct.
think the traditional brands have also realized that that's where the power lies if they want to have a two-way conversation with their target audiences.
No, absolutely. I agree.
But talking about social media and influencers, of course, it's a creators economy. We all know it. It's here to stay and it's only growing. And like
Yeah.
you said, that Meesho also has worked with mid to mega influencers, right? Now, how does Meesho go about choosing the right influencers? Because it's such a cluttered market. If you choose one influencer, they may be promoting yet another brand, yet another e-commerce platform, yet another marketplace. So how does Meesho go about choosing their social media influencers?
Yeah. So I think we tend to work, Mansi, more with mid to micro to nano influences.
Mhm.
Not so much with mega. We do. It's not like we don't. But in terms of percentage split, if you would see, we would be hinging more on the smaller than the bigger ones. And the reason there is more regionalization, honestly. As I said, India is a very heterogeneous market. And there was a time where movie stars were the only true influencers. Yeah.
Yes.
And audience have also evolved a lot. They also know that in terms of relatability, these micro mid influencers are much, much stronger. And as I said, that you can only capture attention if you're relevant. And relevance comes when you can relate to someone. And that's why for us, our strategy has been simple that we will go for more regional influencers which are more relatable with our TG. And of course, our data tells us that. Our data tells us that clicks to view, for example, was how much, what kind of engagement we got on the post, how much did it lead to the app opens or orders on the platform, which also helps us to understand that whether this influencer is really able to stick with our user profile or not. So that also helps us in improving continuous decision making and the framework that we use.
Right. But when we talk about marketing and promotions, and like you said, that now more than television ads, it's more about being present on social media. While all of these promotions and marketing strategies can take a brand till a certain point, it is an increasingly saturated market. So how does Meesho maintain customer loyalty and retention? Have you adopted any unique approaches or tactics that have proven successful for the brand?
Sure. My answer is going to be extremely boring to you. But the truth is, I am a very big believer of core product, Mansi. I believe that while everything else is extremely important, and I'll tell you the things that we do, but honestly, if your core product is the king, user will stick, user will be there.
Yes.
Because as I said, all of our brains work in reducing cognitive load. No one wants to keep switching. If something is working, people don't want to switch. That's not what they get up and start thinking about. Yeah. They switch when they are at borderline. They are not crazy happy with the product. So they are chugging along and something comes which is better. Yeah. So if you are creating and ensuring that your core product is extremely strong, there is no reason that your loyalty will wane. Okay, so that's number one. So for us, that means a lot of investment in understanding our users. It's not a constant thing, right? It's not like you've just gotten this supply and this price point, so you're done. It's not like that. I wish the answer was so easy. The profiles keep changing because a person from a metro tier one would be different than a person coming from rural. A younger person would be different than probably a more aged person. Yeah.
So,
Even within that also there will be different personas. Somebody might be a more of a trendsetter versus somebody might be more of a quality conscious sort of a person. Somebody might be a very price conscious sort of a person, even if demographics are absolutely same. Yeah. So
yeah.
based on these behavioral, psychological, demographic things, we profile our users, which helps in understanding that what are some of the problems that they are facing, some of the things that we need to do better on the app. So that's number one. So that is the most important thing.
Right.
There are other things we do as well that continuously keeps improving engagement on the platform. Things like communications that we do, for example, push notifications that we have on the app. These are fully personalized again. We send notifications to ensure that whatever people were dabbling with or showing interest in, if there's something changed on those products, maybe there was a price drop or restocking happened or some more trendy stuff came in that, or something which is adjacent to that category happened or something happened, we are able to communicate back to the user and get them back on the app, right, to increase this engagement. There are programs that we are working on which would fundamentally improve loyalty of the user more and more. Then there are other things as well. So again, a lot of these constructs are something which is work in progress for us, which are the whole point of that is how do we ensure that users organically have a need to come back on the app every single day. So these are some of the things that we are working on to keep improving loyalty and retention.
Right. It was definitely not a boring answer, Megha. It was a more of an insightful answer, I would say, because it's always good to know how a brand thinks in terms of this, you know. But one thing I want to ask you is, because you have mentioned it a couple of times during the course of this conversation, is relevancy of content, which is integral to Meesho's marketing strategies, right? And I think this is where brand storytelling comes into play. Tell us, we would love to hear your thoughts on the importance of brand storytelling. And here I would also like you to talk about, I have seen your campaign around suppliers. I think that's a very fresh strategy because supply, like you said at the beginning of this conversation, that the supply chain is the most important part of what Meesho is. So tell us a little bit about brand storytelling and how does Meesho use storytelling techniques to connect with its customers and create meaningful brand experiences.
Sure. So I think we all want, see, if you think about your own experience as well, all of us think, consume the narrative formats always.
Yes, absolutely.
That's when our cognitive load is the least, right? If somebody is taking you on a story arch, is when you follow them. That's when quote unquote rationalization reduces a little bit, right? You go on a journey where you want to believe in certain things. And then, of course, reality has to match up to that. But storytelling, the job is to take people on this arch, to take people on this journey where they start believing that something is truly possible. And then, of course, as I said, product has to deliver. So that's why I believe that narrative is extremely important in everything we do. Yes. Narrative is what evokes emotions. And again, I'm not saying that you have to make people emotional. A lot of times emotions become equal to emotional. That's not true. Emotions is, again, a wide spectrum. You can make somebody happy. It could be humor. It could be fear. Not to say I'm using fear in advertising, but you get my point, right? Like there's always there's a spectrum of emotions, and you want people to experience some emotion, because that's when they truly would be moved to do something. A body at rest does not move by itself. Yeah. And advertising, storytelling, all of this, you're trying to move a body at rest. You're saying you're doing X, please now go and do Y. So I'm pushing them. Why should I move? Only when I feel for it. So that's why I feel that storytelling is extremely important. And storytelling needs to reflect brands' personality in a way, right? If you know somebody, and personality is never one shade, right? It's again like a spectrum. When you know somebody, you are able to connect with that person better and feel for that person better, right? You are more engaged with that person. Values need to come out very, very clearly. So, one of the campaigns when we did the supplier campaigns, or recently the Women's Day campaign, for us, being sincere is very important. It's very important that we come across in sincere brand. I'm not going to say that we will do no mistakes ever because we are a young brand. We are also learning. But having said that, we are a brand who will own up to what we do. If there's something that we've done which is not as per our users' expectation in terms of experience, we would own up to it, we will apologize, and we will fix it. Right. So, sincerity, for example, is one core value that we always want to come out in all our campaigns. And you would see that the way we talk would always come from that place of sincerity, that yes, this is who we are. So I believe that storytelling can really break the clutter, so as to say, but it can actually make you stand out. I remember one of the campaigns that we did, which was Sahi Sahi Lagaya Hai, where we actually helped user understand that why we are the lowest price platform, because we go back in the value chain and there is no middleman per se. We source directly from suppliers. I honestly, when I wanted to do this, I felt that it was a pretty complex understanding and you have to deliver in 20, 30 seconds. But the way team communicated, again, in that storytelling sort of a way, this happens to be one of our best campaigns. Even when I go on the ground and I speak to the users, they remember this. They remember, Meesho, you guys source directly from the factory. There's no middleman, no commission. So those kind of things stick only when people flow with the story. So yeah, I definitely feel that storytelling, evoking emotions is extremely important. And sometimes we have to keep a little bit of rationality has to be second. It has to take people on that story arch so that they can follow what you're trying to say.
Yeah. And like you said that this was like one of your most successful marketing campaigns. What would you say were your takeaways from this campaign?
Yeah, I think actually there are 2-3 campaigns which have been quite successful, one for different reasons. One was this Sahi Sahi Lagaya Hai, that was really successful. The second was this whole Meesho blockbuster thing when that Dada thing happened, which was, I think jury's still out there. Did we have a glitch, not a glitch?
I think that's where your Meesho's the core ethos of owning up to your and fixing things comes into play, right? Because you actually you did not come out and say that yeah we were wrong, but you did try and like kind of divert the attention with humor.
Yeah, well, so I feel that there have been a few learnings that we've gathered on the way. The first and foremost learning has been that ads cannot be ads in times like these. You have to entertain people, and in a subtle way, you have to get your message across. If it's very brand speak, I mean, honestly, this is not new information. We've known this forever. It's just the acuteness of this has been changing. As I said, all of us are being bombarded with so much information that it's just, if it was important earlier, it's crucial now. Yeah. Second, social media needs to be a very integral part of whatever we do. Yeah. Third, for me, an important learning is that because of the times we are in, see, Sequoia said this last year and I really liked their phrasing, is that our mindset changed from blitz scaling to fit scaling, which is growth at any cost to growth with profitability, which means that leveraging organic growth became a very important ways of thinking and working. And that's when I realized that social can give you that power. If you experiment enough, you can understand that what are some of these things that can help you take your reach to the next level just by organic means. So these were some of the top learnings, and these are some of the things that we've been trying to leverage and become better in our journey.
Right. So while there are learnings in this industry, there are also challenges and opportunities. So as the CXO of Meesho, what do you believe are the key challenges and opportunities facing the marketing industry in the coming years? And how is Meesho preparing to adapt and thrive in this changing landscape?
Sure. I think the first is exactly what I said, which is this growth and profitability. How do you go hand in hand? How do you develop more and more organic ways of growing is not a small challenge. So I feel that this is one area that all of us growth people need to invest heavily in. Second is, again, something that a lot of people have spoken about is data privacy. The point is, more and more we will be in a situation where we don't have third party data, which means over reliance on our own data. So a lot of new age tech companies are there where they capture data, but a lot of other organizations are not there. So how do you start investing in your data capturing, understanding of your user, increasingly using your first party data to design your campaigns, to think about engagement strategies is very, very crucial. And third, as I said, Gen AI. We are at the tip of an iceberg. We don't know what future has in store. Already we are seeing disruptions, especially in content field, in copywriting, in SEO. In all of these areas, there's massive disruption that is happening. AI is doing job which used to take months. Now it is happening in hours. And sometimes the quality is also even better. Yeah. So those areas have started. But how do you take it to the next level? I think it's a huge opportunity that we are actually sitting on that could truly change the way we do things.
Right. Thank you so much, Megha, for sharing that. Now, finally, I would like to ask you if you could share any insights into the upcoming market trends or emerging technologies that you believe will shape the industry in the near future. Like you said, that Gen AI, we are just at the tip of the iceberg with that one. Could you share the upcoming marketing trends that you see in the near future?
Honestly, I feel Gen AI is the biggest thing. I know it may sound like a broken record, but I truly want people to be curious and to focus on Gen AI in a big, big way. As I said, it's as big as what internet was. So it's pretty huge. So investing there and understanding what we can do with it should be the number one priority.
Right. And before we let you go, of course, I have to ask you this. What can we expect from Meesho next? What's the next big campaign going to be?
Ah, okay. You just put me, yeah, you have put me. So yeah, there are a couple of things that we are working on. And I think in matter of a month, you will soon see very interesting things coming out. We are going to be coming out with our next campaign and something else as well, which is kind of special. So no, Mansi, I'm not going to spill the beans.
All right, I had to take my chances.
No, fair enough. But yeah, let's chat again. But yeah, in 3 to 4 weeks, you will see something very interesting happening from Meesho.
Sure, wonderful. We all look forward to that. And Megha, it has been a very, very refreshing interview, this conversation. I absolutely loved every bit of it, learning from you, learning about your insights, the challenges throughout your journey. So thank you so much for taking out your time for us today.
Thank you so much for having me, Mansi. It was lovely chatting with you.
Thank you, Megha.
Take care, Mansi.
You too.